What a joy to be able to have this time to spend with you today. And I just want to encourage your heart about a truth that we often talk about and one that we all know about, but yet forget. When problems come, when we're tested, when negative things occur, we can't help but humanly react to those. They're disappointments. They can be something that brings suffering. They can have long-term impact upon our lives. And so it's very common for us to have a down perspective on things that we hear. And especially things that come because we're trying to serve the Lord and there's a spiritual battle going on. And though we know it's a spiritual battle, we find ourselves allowing Satan to discourage us. In fact, we're warned in chapter 5 of 2 Peter, and that's what we're looking at here, to be sober and vigilant, because Satan is a roaring lion and he's trying to destroy us. And we need to be steadfast in the faith. But following that, we read in verse 10, "But the God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you." Now, it's very interesting here. We're to battle the evil one. We are not to allow him to devour us. And we know that according to James chapter 4, if we resist the devil, he does have to flee if we submit ourselves to the Lord. But the fact of the matter is, there are times of suffering that we do face. And we've got to realize that God is the God of all grace. He has all the strength, all the resources that we need to be able to manage anything in our life. And this all comes through the finished work of Christ on the cross. And so this God who gives us the grace for salvation, the grace for transformation, gives us grace to be able to handle these difficulties in life. And we need to remember that he has called us to eternal glory because of what Jesus Christ has done. Yesterday, we looked at the matter of thinking eternal instead of temporal, and that will help us to stay strong. Well, again, we find that same emphasis here. But it goes on to be very practical. And again, it's a truth that we know, but we need to remind ourselves. After that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect. You have here the fact that the perfecting of our faith inevitably has to come through trials. And when the trials come, especially because of what we believe and because we're believers and we're endeavoring to serve him and we're in the midst of a spiritual battle, there is something very, just very beneficial about what God will do through that trial to awaken us to spiritual truth, to expose our needs, our motives, expose our lack of understanding, and to allow us then to be perfected in our faith so that we can be complete and mature and then established. That is the idea of being steadfast and very much consistent in our Christian life. The matter of strengthening. Trials allow us to access the grace of God, to walk by faith more than we have had in the past. We have more confidence, and as a result, the power of God is upon us and will strengthen us and then settle us. And that means put us in a place in which we are a steadfast, faith-filled Christian that is exemplifying who Christ is and what Christ is doing in this day. That's what the trials will do for us. And of course, we're to rejoice. We are to embrace trials, but that's very difficult. But here we need to realize that God has all grace and he's got an eternal glory for us. But even right now, the benefit of anything that we're going through is wonderful because we'll be perfected. We will be able to be matured in the faith. And so we do need to rejoice. And again, I say rejoice. How do you respond to trials? I want to encourage you, no matter what bad news you hear, no matter what you face, stop and say, Lord, I know you're perfecting me. And Lord, would you enable me to keep right on going and trusting you? And if you do that, God's able to not only bring you through it, but do a great work in your life.